Do you know your comic book history? No? Allow me to enlighten you. Though there are some liberties taken, this episode is based off issue 4 of Hellblazer, which was released way back in April of 1988. Penned by Jamie Delano, this was the first comic where John's family was introduced and really upped the stakes for the character personally. It was also the issue where the character Zed was revealed. No, there were no dead miners to be found anywhere in the story. That said, let's dig into the season finale of Constantine. A man walks upstairs into a bedroom where 3 young girls wait. He creepily caresses one of their faces and asks for their help. It's his wedding night. Cut to a girl wandering around an old amusement park and a strange man warning her she's going to die. Well, I guess if Stephen King can do it, Constantine can. The trio from the opening scene pop up, scaring off the ominous stranger. Though she should be running in the other direction, Vesta stays and talks to the girls, eventually agreeing to go with them, even after seeing their unique wedding rings. The man, yes, that's what he's called here, was watching from a distance, and his peeping is interrupted by a police officer. When will they learn psychopaths love sitting in their cars by their lonesome? He pays the ultimate price, and the man can chalk up another death by his hands. Jim Corrigan is back, and asking for John's help. 3 girls are missing, and going by the cycle of a blood moon, John knows a fourth will be taken. Meanwhile, the man walks around the house admiring the decor, as a man pleads with him to spare his life. John needs to see one of the bodies, so it's off to the graveyard. He, Zed, and Corrigan go. Corrigan is very happy to see Zed, which makes sense, since he seemed to have a thing for her in episode 5. Within a minute, John figures out that they're after a Satanist, but didn't expect the course he'd examine to sit up and talk, much less have it be the spirit of Gary Lester. He warns John that he's got a bounty on his head. Speaking of people gunning for John, Papa Midnight is up for the challenge. Vesta wakes up in an empty room. Vesta's mother is surprised to see our Scooby Gang show up so soon after calling the police. Vesta, suffering from some kind of memory block, is taken in hand by the trio of eerie girls. Zed struggles to get a vision and reveals she saw Corrigan dead. Zed Copper turns up just in time for further conversation to drop off. In the kitchen, Vesta's mother is taken over by Manny, who felt Zed's need for guidance. He tells her she can warn Corrigan about his death or not. It's her choice. Tired of waiting for Zed to power on, John takes matters into his own hands by licking Vesta's toothbrush, eating her hair, and electrocuting himself. Ew. But, right, well, I guess it works. He manages to get a peek in Vesta's eyes and knows where she was taken from. Papa Midnight sends off his assassin to kill John. At the scene of Vesta's disappearance, Corrigan tries to get Zed to talk to him, but she deftly avoids his inquiries, seeing another specter of his eventual fate. One has to wonder if she's seeing it so much because that's all she can think about, or it's going to happen soon. Off on his own, John's attacked by a Midnight zombie and manages to put up a halfway decent fight. Corrigan puts the kibosh on the zombie before it gets too far into John's beating, and Constantine tells Zed she needs to have a vision now, no more delays. Wonder of wonders, the direct approach works, and she gets an Easter egg address. Not out of options, Papa Midnight sends off a crow to eke out John's location. With the blood moon high in the sky, the trio travel to the appointed address as Vesta walks into her wedding. At the house, they find the man's last victim and their next lead. John sends Zed and Corrigan off as he needs to deal with the whole bounty hunter bother. Vesta finally meets the man and he's pleased with her. No longer using agents, Papa Midnight confronts John with a rifle, wounding him mortally. Or did he? John asks why he's collecting the bounty, and he reveals he's working with the Breweria, working off his own debt. He shoots John in the head, and presto changeo, it's actually the corpse of the man from the attic. John proves he's a fucking badass and takes Midnight down with little to no trouble. Good job, man. Having sorted it all out, John checks in with Zed and Corrigan, as Vesta finally has regrets about her wedding, and runs for the man when he's about to strangle her with a rope. So, there is a brain inside her head. Good to know. Inside the man's house, and armed with the rifle Papa Midnight tried to kill him with, John discovers the bodies of 3 young girls, the same ones that had been interacting with Vesta throughout the episode. The man tries to hunt down Vesta, and just when he's dragging her back to the house, John stumbles upon him. The man runs straight into Corrigan and Zed, and playing devil's advocate, ironically enough, John is able to talk Corrigan into letting the man go and get shot escaping from custody. Showing your dark side just a little, eh, John? Corrigan agrees, and the man is killed moments later. John releases the dead girl's souls, Vesta is returned to her mother, Papa Midnight is arrested, and Zed and Corrigan go to get a drink together. Zed finally reveals she knows his ultimate fate, and Corrigan kisses her, determining that if he's going to die, he'll do what he likes. John walks in just in time to witness the kiss and strides off, brooding in his shiny new longer trench coat. One can't have a proper brood without one, you know. Manny decides to visit John, and the two discuss the rising darkness, with John dropping a few hard hints he knows something else is going on. He wants to play the game out, but he doesn't play if he knows he won't win, leaving Manny with something to think about. Enter iconic shot here. Yeah, that's classic Hellblazer. Thanks for that, Matt Ryan. Just as Papa Midnight arrives at the police station, time freezes and he's given the chance to escape. Who do we know that can do that? Gosh, it's Manny! And if you didn't already figure it out, yes, he's the one who portrayed Dawn and brought about the rising darkness. The Brujeria worked for him. Boom! He flies off into the night, and that's possibly the last shot of Constantine we'll ever see. Being based on one of the earliest Hellblazer issues, it's a fairly faithful adaptation. In the original comic, however, it wasn't a random girl, it was John's niece, Gemma, that was targeted by the man. It wasn't set in New Orleans, and Jim Corrigan had no involvement in the affair. It was just Zed and John joining up to rescue Gemma. I can understand why the writers changed the details. TV John has only mentioned his sister in passing, so bringing both her and his niece into the picture wouldn't really have worked, especially if you consider that they probably still live in Liverpool, England, and the show doesn't really have enough of a budget to film overseas. That's why, despite the fact that John is mostly based in London on the comics, he's living in America on the TV show. The one negative element I have to bring up is that in the comics it was very clear Gemma was under an enchantment, and that was why she went off with the dead girls and agreed to wedding the man. In this episode, Vesta comes off as a bit of a doddering idiot who will do anything you say if you say it nicely. Other than trapping a dead girl's soul in the house, there was no other magic present. She's smart enough to run, which is more than Gemma did in the comics, but even then you almost feel like Vesta should have died for her stupidity. You couldn't have at least had a shimmer of magic somewhere to indicate that this is a supernatural happening? I love that John plays upon Jim Corrigan's dark impulse in order to have a man killed. He doesn't do nearly enough manipulation in the series, and it's great to see more of it. Also, John smoked like a fucking chimney stack in this episode. He almost constantly had a cigarette in his mouth. Shades away from how this series started out when John could touch a lighter and cigarette but couldn't light up on screen. Jim Corrigan, oddly enough, fits into the story well. He's basically an excuse for the case to be brought to John, and a form of transportation for our crew. There's also the whole he likes Zed romantically bit, which provides drama for John. My only problem with that is that there hasn't been much sexual tension between Zed and John, so for Constantine to suddenly be jealous is kind of odd. It'd be like John getting uppity about Chaz going back to his family because they've hung out together for so long. He's not that petty. Subplot B, John having a bounty on his head, is handled well. If nothing else, this shows that John can handle himself physically when he has to, and that he can go toe-to-toe with Papa Midnight magically if needed. Manny's revelation of Brujeria involvement didn't really surprise me. I questioned his motivations for helping John way back in the pilot, and it seems I was right to be suspicious. Just how Manny was using John is debatable. If the series does get a second season, it will be interesting to see what the Angels' endgame is and how John plays into it. It's wonderful that the series chose to end by going back to their source material roots, and between the excellent acting and story, it seems like everyone was going all out to end on a high note. While you could consider it a cliffhanger, to me it feels like the end of a chapter in a book. Phase 1 done, enter Phase 2. This episode gets a 5 out of 5, most definitely. I'm amazed how far this show has come. The pilot was a hot mess, with only tiny bits actually being good, but as time progressed, this show's gotten better and better, and this finale is possibly the best of the entire series. There's been articles and rumors aplenty about whether or not Constantine will get another season since the show finished airing. One popular theory was moving it to the Sci-Fi Channel, renaming it Hellblazer, and continuing the show there. Just recently, news has come out that the Constantine showrunner will pitch Season 2 ideas in April, and NBC will decide from there. I, for one, am tired of waiting for an official statement about it. Stop dangling the carrots in front of fans and either kill it or give it new life. Stop waffling.